Hello everyone, this segment is to let you know that this video contains a Stardock product and was made during the time that I was contracted as a content developer for Stardock Corporation, but was not made under that contract. Thank you for listening, please enjoy the video. Right, hello everyone and welcome to round number 4 of our February Team FFA tournament. Once again we are going to be featuring Peasant, Philithanic, Macros 42, and Black Magic, and of course Terra Incognita still here with us, so... Hello, welcome. What do you see about this map?
So metal in general is kind of scarce. Not a whole lot of aluminum. There's one high in the far south where nothing else is. There's one high in the middle of the map that I imagine will be contested. But other than that, it's all just kind of a little bit awkward. So I think aluminum is going to be a big factor in this game. I think iron is all clumped as usual this time in the north of this map. So lots of awkwardness, and I really like this location from Peasant with the Cyan spot. Does have that steel adjacent, has the water nearby as well. And if he can grab that aluminum, the high aluminum that's in the middle of the map, that would be amazing.
Not going to go for it immediately, it looks like. I actually really enjoy Macro's location. Not exactly where I would have put it, but I was seeing you've got the high carbon, the medium carbon. You got to watch out for the nukes, to be fair. But with just one medium, it's tolerable. There is medium aluminum not too far away. He's electing to go for the high, which is a bit farther. What I would have done was put this a little to the west amongst the silicon and the water in particular. You're really close to the medium aluminum moving forward from there. I think he's going to be okay, but still, I really like the scavenger found in particular this game because you've got laboratories at the colony and chemicals starting at 160. That is such fantastic access to income, even with the high fuel price. That on HQ level 2, you can just go flying.
I was going to mention about the chem price, and I wonder whether that's why Black Magic also went for the scavenger. It's not a great scavenger. He's gooned one of them, one of the medium tiles that he has access to, but he does have everything around him that he needs. And the fact that the scientist in the north, Peasant, didn't take that aluminum tile has meant that basically Black Magic got it for free, which is going to be really good for him. Aluminum's going to be a big deal, I think, in this early game.
Yeah, great tile, especially considering neither of our scientists were anywhere near aluminum. Philithanic has gone ahead and grabbed the medium that we discussed earlier, but it does look like Peasant's just skipping it for the time being. So aluminum potentially a very, very valuable resource this game. Also worth noting, I want to point out, the reason I think this found is okay in particular from Black Magic, he's already gooned one medium tile. That's great. He has access also to core samples and one space that he can core sample in there. Very, very likely to hit carbon with that. So if necessary, even if he gets nuked out a little bit, he'll be able to restore the tile and go ahead and move forward with the game, even if he runs into some trouble.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think he got it last as well. So I think he didn't get it last. In fact, he got it third. So he gets an extra claim at HQ3, which I think is going to be a big deal in this game. Claims are going to be fairly hard to come by, and I think they'll be quite valuable. With no expansive players in this game, no claims on the black market, any claim that you get is a big deal.
Certainly, certainly. Extra claims, always super, super important. But especially in games with a whole bunch of scavengers and scientists, that one extra claim is going to be so, so huge. Also worth noting, like, we don't have... There are scientists here, and so primary resources might be a little less valuable. Like iron is going to be a little bit more strange in particular. Water maybe not as valuable as usual, depending on the situation. But with no expansives, no robots, that's a lot of consumption of resources going on without that excess of production that you get from the expansive end of things. And I'm really wondering how that's going to push prices this game.
Yep, I imagine it'll push them up. We'll see exactly how it does it. There's a colony's growing as well. The colony's size 8 already at Sol 2, which is gonna be more pressure on those prices that we're gonna see. Peasant is struggling quite a lot with the found that I liked quite a lot just because he doesn't have any aluminum. It's a really big deal for him to upgrade right now. It's going to cost him 19,000, and 13,000 of that is the aluminum that he could have taken at HQ1 but decided not to. I think that's going to be a fairly major thing that's going to keep him down in this game.
Certainly. I think another big problem for Peasant right now is this idea that he has this solar panel here. I really don't like this because it's a loan. It's keeping him from gathering in too much debt, and I guess that's fine, but it's very, very lonely, and your tiles should never be lonely. Your tiles always need friends.
They need friends. Yeah.
Every single
time. They do.
And so it's very much a concern for me because not only is it a loan, it's not making any money because, of course, it's a power tile.
Yeah. And honestly, he's not making a whole lot of money in general because the fuel and the oxygen is being kept in check. Steel is absolutely worthless. So it's really hard to see how he's going to get that upgrade, particularly with aluminum at $70, although somebody does seem to be selling it down. But it's going to be a long time until he gets that upgrade to HQ3.
We did actually have core samples come out from Blackmagic, and I really like that decision on his part in particular. It looks like he struck gold with one of them on this metal mine
really?
here.
You got the double?
He got the double,
Wow.
and it's already been nuked. That's the thing to me. It
Oh.
got hit by a nuke, so that thing was...
So it was a double high?
It was a double high is what it had to
Can
be,
that
I think.
even
I'm going to have to go
happen?
back and look at this
Wow.
replay. But that was the tile that got
That's
nuked.
amazing.
And so that's a bit of a ridiculous core sample but that's fantastic because nobody else is gathering iron, and it also leaves him with by far the best aluminum in this game, where we discussed aluminum is going to be a serious problem.
Yeah, the two scientists really struggling for aluminum. Phil is shipping his halfway across the map. He's going to get there first, but Peasant just doesn't have any, and he doesn't really have any means of making any money. He probably needs to transition those steel into something else, honestly, because he's got a whole bunch of steel and nothing to do with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's always one factor that comes into play whenever there's not a lot of aluminum around that a lot of people don't really account for, is this idea that because everybody needs aluminum and there is none around, upgrades are coming a little bit slower. And because upgrades are coming a little bit slower, your base resource inherently ends up less valuable just because you're spending so much more time producing it. And you need to be more ready to be able to transition out of that a little more frequently when there's just no aluminum available, because it's not going to be able to retain its value because it's just not being consumed as much as normal.
Yeah, and who's making the most aluminum? It's Blackmagic, and not coincidentally, he has a big lead in this game now. He's upgraded to HQ4, and he has more cash than anyone else, and he's making money off his power, and he's getting a pleasure dome down at some... Oh, he was getting a pleasure dome. I guess he cancelled it. But he's certainly in a very strong position. The 3 wind turbines in a line is going to do lots of work for him, and it's completely immune to any black market effects as well. He's running away with this one at the moment.
Oh, yeah. Way, way out ahead. I would love to see him honestly, I'd love to see a patent lab come down in just a minute here, and I would love to see it between those habitats and those laboratories. I usually don't like that too much, but because that tile is going to have some flexibility where once the Pleasure Dome becomes more valuable, you could transition into it, and because you're a scavenger in a game where auctions are really the only way to gain those extra tiles, I would really like to see stuff like that. But ooh, people not liking the position Blackmagic is in. Everybody's identified him as a scary, scary threat, and those nukes are starting to rain down.
All sorts of nukes on his water and on his what was that on his? That was on his high aluminum, wasn't it? So yeah, Macross recognizing that as a big threat, but it might honestly be too little, too late. He's going into food now as well. 3 food, the most profitable thing he can possibly make right now, I think. Maybe with the exception of glass, but yeah, it's a big deal, and yeah, all sorts of black magic now, all sorts of black market being rained down on black magic.
Yeah. Not a comfortable position for him to be in, being the target of so much black market, but of course he has such a high stock price. He's upgraded, he's equal with Macros. Macros actually starting to become a serious threat. He was the one to take advantage of this chem price that has not been irrelevant across this game, and Macros really starting to pull back into it as black magic is having to deal with these black market effects. That is not a comfortable thing for him, but he does go ahead and pull through to HQ5.
Yeah, those chems suddenly got incredible. They basically upgraded at the same time. Those chems got incredibly good just because fuel was being controlled so well by a combination of Peasant and Phil, I think, as well, had a couple of reactors up too. So yeah, chems suddenly got very profitable. But I think now we can clearly see with a whole bunch of debt that the two scientists are in, that this is a race between our two scavengers. And yeah, it's maybe not as clear-cut as we perhaps thought it was. Macross putting the patent lab up with all of those chems that he's making, and maybe looking to do something with that. I guess we're going to see... I don't know what we're going to see, actually. It probably isn't going to be teleportation.
Yeah, probably not teleportation. Virtual reality certainly is just a simple, easy option, has something to say for it. Thinking machines, obviously a nice tool. We've got expensive oxygen available for the off-world market. I mean, for now, it's just going to be a nice solid repair. Nanotechnology is an option. Carbon's maybe a little bit limited this game, but with core samples, maybe not necessary. It's hard to say. There are a lot of different directions you could go here.
Actually, yeah, I think I like the. I think I like nanotech, particularly. I mean, we can see Carbon's price at the moment; it's above $100. just because it's so awkward for everyone. It's been nuked a whole bunch. Actually, it's only been no, it hasn't been nuked at all. In fact,
But it's just that
but
they've both
still,
been
it's
operating
quite
on
limited.
2, and they both very
Yeah,
recently upgraded. That's the big
yeah.
thing, right? They bought up a whole lot of carbon to get that done, from what I was seeing, especially because Black Magic, some of his stuff was getting blown up, had to be repaired, so on and so forth from there. But
Yeah, and a lot of Black Magic's advantage, honestly, in terms of the position that he was in, he's kind of eroding. He's got those 3 wind turbines that were really good, but now aren't quite so good. And obviously, they're 3 remote claims, so he can't really do anything else with those. So it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that. He does still have a lead. He's got a cash lead. He's got one of his own stock as well, secured. So I think he is in a very strong position. It's just a question of what his next move is. Maybe it's buying one of the scientists.
yeah, this is my big concern about Black Magic. I don't see his late game yet. He has 1 claim left. That's going to be important for him to commit somewhere. He just now picked that up. But I don't see a patent lab. I do see a pleasure dome coming down, and that's fine. It's able to be, I mean, it's kind of a weird pleasure dome location because it's only next to 2 habitats. It's positioned near the warehouses, and you're not going to.
But it's going to make an incredible off-world market.
Yeah, it could be an
in the
incredible
late
off-world
game.
market if he wants to transition it later.
Yeah.
It could be. I don't know if he's going to do that or not, especially against Dynamite. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking to put your off-world that far away from your base. And speaking of, goodbye Pleasure Dome.
Yeah, the price of
that was a good
Dynamite's being
decision.
driven up a little bit.
Financial Instruments is what comes out from Macros. For his first patent. I like
yeah,
it.
that
I
was
like
a
it.
good decision.
Wasn't even
Yeah.
looking at it earlier.
Peasant and Philothanic, both in unsustainable levels of debt. So yeah, I think he picked the right patent there to go for. Black Magic did have 100 electronics and 100 glass in his inventory, so he's at least thinking about the off-world market. And the off-world market is pretty good this game. 570 is the oxygen launch, 550 is the food launch. Both fairly profitable as another Dynamite comes down on Macross's Pleasure Dome.
Yeah, all that said, I think Macros, he has moved himself into a position where I would say he actually has the advantage at this point. He is working on thinking machines. I think that's going to be important in the late game,
Yep.
potentially. He picked up financial instruments. That's just going to be a nice source of cash that says he doesn't necessarily need to race to finish off these guys for him to get an advantage from them. That's pretty nice. And he's not going to get virtual reality. Black Magic's going to get that secured, but all this other stuff is kind of leaning more Macro's direction than Black Magic's.
Yeah, the financial instruments just for the last debt tick alone has paid for itself, and if both of the scientists survive for another debt tick, it's going to pay for itself even more. Because yeah, Phil's in a whole bunch of debt. He's buying all of his own stock, but he doesn't really have any money to do it with. He's in. Did he just pay down a bunch? He might have just paid down a bunch. But yeah, he's in a good sea level of debt, and so is Peasant. So yeah.
Another really big factor of this game I want to talk about real quick is the fact that Black Magic, he has those 3 wind turbines that he's not rotating anywhere. He has the option of potentially, teleportation's gone. He could still rotate, though. Philothanic, going ahead and picking that one up as a scientist. Philothanic has gotten to 5, so he is still relevant this game, if still looking not exactly in a pleasant position considering his debt levels. But Black Magic, he has 3 tiles committed to power, and they're just staying that way. Meanwhile, Macros, he only has 1 tile committed to power right now, and he can get away with that as a scavenger, of course. Could even drop an optimization center and just work on that a little bit on his geotherm, and he's going to be just fine. But Black Magic has the option of maybe not selling power to the market for a little while. Try and start punishing people, perhaps, if they're trying to stay out of power. You have to do something to make these 3 tiles valuable, because right now they're basically just dead.
Yeah, they're completely dead. He's got 3 less claims than everyone else because they're not making any money at all. He has been building this off-world for a while. It's about to finish. He's just gooned it. So, yeah, that's going to do a lot of work for him. 46k now per launch, per food launch in pure profit. So that's going to take a while to chew through all of the black market effects on that one for anyone else in this game. I wonder if Macross is going to try and do something about it. There's no hologram, so he sees it. It's just a question of whether he can do anything about it.
Yeah, and also spies available. So if he chooses to, let's see, in that case, just got his pleasure dome blown up, but he can spy that just to make sure.
Yeah.
And let's see, he just threw a power surge at it. It looks like that's going to bounce, obviously.
It's going to come straight back to him. And
oh, and it's just also relevant to note that there really isn't anything great to be throwing at these goon squads. to knock them out, you're going to be spending something pretty serious to get through them, even if you
Yep.
know that they're there.
So Black Magic has not regooned it, and Macross, or somebody just bought, or Phil just bought a Dynamite. So I imagine that as soon as it stops being defended, he's going to throw that at the Offworld of Black Magic. Certainly I would if I were him.
Absolutely. I do wonder at the fact that Macros, he committed to thinking machines. He picked it up, but he hasn't actually built an off-world market yet. And that concerns me. It really, really does.
He's hacking chems up as well, which I don't think I like at all because Peasant's in a bunch of chems. So he's making bank from that right now. Black Magic's not. I mean, it's not that relevant that Peasant is making money, but it is relevant that the price of chems is actually going down as he's hacking it up. So that stockpile really isn't appreciating in value at all. A whole bunch of activity on the stock market, though.
Yeah, absolutely a lot. Black Magic choosing to get aggressive against Macros, and I think Macros may be falling apart in the late game here. He has 2 water pumps online that are at trace levels, could easily rotate those out into something like chemicals to just start pulling in a little bit of cash. That's what he's got positioned everywhere else. It would be just fine. And the real big problem with this is the fact that he has other water available, but he's built a hacker array over some of it, and the other 2 have chems on top. So it's just some pretty serious mispositioning of these advanced buildings on top of his primary resource locations rather than in locations that can't be transitioned into those. So he's just not taking full advantage of each of his tiles. And I think it's seriously costing him here, combined with the fact that he has so much debt, didn't commit into the off-world market to try and benefit from thinking machines. And it's just slowly but surely, this series of potentially small mistakes are starting to really add up and give Black Magic the advantage here in this late game.
Yeah, I mean, so those chem refineries just need to be water pumps right now. Like, there's no question about it. Like, water is just so valuable right now. It's being hacked. You know, you suspect it's being hacked even if you don't know. So you need to be producing water. The water pumps on the other side can be something else, and you need to have that triangle of water working and producing water rather than producing basically nothing, which is what they're doing right now.
Yeah, certainly. Now, of course, water, not as
Phil
valuable
gets
as
to
it
the buy
initially
on
seems. Yeah, Phil gets the buy on Peasant. He's been working on that for some time. Not too surprised it came through. Not honestly entirely sure how important it is.
I don't know. It
He's
might be
making
important.
money.
He's making money. He's got a bunch of he's got a high stock price now, and he is going to be he's going to get 500 a second from that. So that's basically an off-world market that he's got right there, or not quite, but close to it, as a subsidiary. So yeah, maybe.
Could be very useful. I mean, it is a scientific thing, and the thing is, Peasant, he was running behind
he's also
for a very
look at
long
this.
time.
Look at this. He's buying into Black Magic.
Black Magic, yes. He's
So
creating a
Macross
serious
sold
problem.
out. Yeah, he really is. So Black Magic having to go into Phil now, and Phil's really expensive. I don't know if Black Magic has the money to do this. He's obviously having to do it, but it's certainly delaying him. And if Macross gets involved as well against Black Magic, that's going to be a big problem for him.
Absolutely. Black Magic does have a lot of cash available to him. He could sell out of macros if he wanted to. He's got a lot of money. And of course, Black Magic's still the only one operating on this off-world market. $51,000 launches of oxygen available. He's currently auto on the food. Going to need to adjust those around, preferably right now, as we're at a pause and he just now launched. This slowdown strike seems pretty important, though.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things
I'm going
you
to
can do
kill
with
you
this.
all.
Oh dear. Yeah, that's a huge mistake. Oh my goodness, the optimization center right next to the Offworld gets blown up. The Offworld was not gooned. That's a curious decision. I guess he didn't know that the Offworld wasn't gooned. But yeah, interesting. I don't know. Black Magic does have a bunch of money
that you could use to describe that. Black Magic needs to make a decision. I am kind of frustrated with him right now that he has some money in Philothenic and some money in macros. Commit. Buy one dude. I don't care which one. It looks like he wants to take out macros, which I think is actually reasonable because macros is pretty darn cheap.
So cheap.
So cheap. But just sell out of Philothenic, get it done, start collecting money from that subsidiary, raise your stock price, get all of this done now. Stop
and Phil doing the
about.
completely sensible thing and buying Black Magic stock while it's cheap. And look at the subsidiary now. The subsidiary is making 1,000 a second. Like, that's not insignificant. Yeah, scientific subsidiary making a whole bunch of money. Black Magic does, I think, probably have more income. But honestly, at this point, Phil has a lead, and Black Magic's going to have to overhaul it.
Yeah, certainly. It's not maybe as much of a lead as it would appear, mostly because Philothanic hasn't actually bought those last 2 stock yet. And so there is this idea that Black Magic's price is higher and will go higher over time. Philothanic is now choosing to commit some money to drag this out longer. I don't know if that's the right direction to take it. His subsidiary is more valuable for the moment, but 2 Offworlds.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And look at the debt that Phil's in. That's not a sustainable amount of debt at all.
Yeah,
the next
really
debt tick, that's going to be 100K. That's going to tank his stock price. So yeah, I don't think I agree with the decision to buy his own stock there.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the winning play right now. Black Magic, I'm not even sure if he needs this second Offworld or wants this second Offworld. I do know he wants to go ahead and use this extra claim. Could even just commit it to an additional farm for all I care right now. But hacking food down right now, actually, trying to make his launches better. I don't think that's necessary for the time being, though.
I don't think so either. Is Phil making a bunch of food? He's making some
he's making
food.
some, and his subsidiary is making some as well.
Yeah, he's making a lot of food. So he's got 4 farms, and it's optimized to 75%.
But Black Magic could also just make this food.
Yeah, he could. Yeah. But, I mean, I guess you are... And it is one thing that the AI loves to do if you ever play against the AI, to hack the resource that you're making money off down. And it is reasonably effective because it's more sort of cost efficient and time efficient to hack down rather than up.
Yeah.
So if you can hit your opponent's primary income stream, that's really efficient. But yeah, it's I don't know. So this is really close. Phil is not very far away. He's 300,000 away. Black Magic is more like 500,000 away, with probably more income. I think it's going to be very, very close.
It could be here. Phil is making a lot of cash. I mean, those subsidiaries should be about even at this point. Yeah, pretty close. About 100 off per second for the time being. Which just kind of tells me that maybe if Black Magic had gotten to macros a little sooner, and he could have, that he'd be in a slightly more advantageous position right now. I'm still not sure about this Offworld coming up. It kind of depends on how much it cost, but glass was expensive, electronics was expensive, and I also just don't really like the use of this hacker array thus far. It's been trying to play with this water price, but the problem is his subsidiary is dumping water in the market this whole time. I don't see it as making a lot of money.
I mean, it's making money in the sense that, like, he has nearly 2,000 water stockpiles, so any increase in the price is only going to help him. But yeah, like, it's sort of fighting an uphill battle, as it were. Phil is really close now, though. Phil is only 60,000 away, and I think he's going to take this one.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like that. 93, 94, and that just keeps ticking upward, and oh, those scientists playing with this water price is not going to work against them, and that just goes to show that a hacker array can't solve all your problems, even with a couple off-world markets to back it up, if your opponents just don't even care about the cost of that primary resource.
And remind ourselves that he was HQ3 when the 2 scavengers who were going at it hammer and tongs with the black market were HQ5, so that's quite a comeback. He used that teleportation that he got, which I thought was completely irrelevant at the time, to really good effect.
Yeah, good use of teleportation there. Definitely, I would say, much stronger stock game, even though he wasn't really doing as much there. He was doing what he needed to do. He took out the initial cheap player that was very, very valuable subsidiary at that point because he's scientific, he's got access to a lot of water. Black Magic was trying to play with water. I don't know, Black Magic, I almost feel like he got a little too fancy there for himself. Couldn't quite make all these different moving parts come together. Meanwhile, Philothanic went for the very, very basic, I'm just going to buy valuable people, and it's going to be great, and I'm going to make money. And who doesn't love making money? It's very different styles of play there.
And I think that's right. I think the game was won in the stock battle, and I think the timing of Philothanic going into Black Magic was really, really important. It was as Macross was selling out, so like as soon as he did that, he just saw the advantage that he could get from owning 5 stock of Black Magic and just went full bore for it, and absolutely the right decision.
Absolutely, and that combined with Black Magic maybe sticking in Philothanic and Macros at the same time instead of committing to one or the other, always going to be problematic. You need to be, if you're going to choose that you're going to take someone out, just go ahead and do it. Stop messing about with anything else. And I think that combined with, of course, those 3 tiles of Black Magics that were power, I don't know if they ever got good, frankly.
Well, they were very good at HQ4, and that was the only time that they were good. It catapulted him into that lead, but the cost was really too high, I think, at the end.
But that's the issue that scavengers often have. They can make these plays that catapult them into the lead. But in particular, the downside to Scavenger this game in so many ways was the black market. There's just not a lot going on here. I mean, yeah, you can core sample stuff, but underground nukes don't work against scientists very well at all. And you're kind of weak to them, so that forced the extra Goon Squad purchase early on from Black Magic. And then all you've got is, what, Power Surges and Dynamite past that once teleportation kicks in, and things just aren't looking too pleasant for you.
No, it's really difficult, and Scavengers have always had that problem. But yeah, in the late game, particularly if you don't have claims on the black market, like, it's just very difficult to make money. And if you use 3 of your claims on power, then it's doubly difficult.
Certainly. All right, well, good solid win to Philothanic. He earned it.
Yep, he did.
About that. Black Magic playing around with water a whole lot. I think it kind of worked for him, but not as well as he was hoping it would. Also worth noting that Black Magic was the primary target of each of our other players, but I really am kind of disappointed. Peasant and Philothanic not in the black market a whole lot that game, purely because they were just in so much debt for so long.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I mean, we said about financial instruments being a big factor early on. They were in a whole bunch of debt, those 2 scientists. It was it was seriously impressive to see Phil come back from that. He sort of came from absolutely nowhere in that game. He was 2 HQs behind in D levels of debt, and you don't see that very often.
No, and he kind of just committed to this idea that I'm in debt. Ain't gonna try and do anything about it. I mean, $338,000 of interest charges is not a small number.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of money.
All right, well, good win to him. A little bit surprising for us, I think, but he pulls it off.
So what else is happening? That was Philothanic's on the blue team. So they are no longer bringing up the rear. DT with another win against Dryad, Bogus, Rogus, and Adderfield. Honestly, I would have expected him with reasonable confidence to take that game. But he did, and he's 4 for 4 now. So the Pastafarians up to 6 points. Yerand maybe, not quite sealing the deal yet for the green team, winning that one as team captain against Morgan, Tudbak, and Vampiris.
Yep. Green and yellow captains really trying to just put the team on their backs. In Yerand's case, it's not quite as necessary. DT, though, he's really wanting to pull this one out, but I think he has, 2/3 of his team's points right now, just wrapped up in one of the 6 players.
He does.
It's a good day for him, but unfortunately, nobody else really able to contribute just yet all that much.